This is the Queen's Court, a special mini-series from the Wonderland Beyond the Looking Glass podcast, where we've always focused on relationship building, healing, and mental health. This mini-series is no different, but the need is great. The series is for the 92%. The series is for everyday people carrying the weight of what they're seeing on the television and in every breaking news story. It's for building community and staying grounded while policies and narratives keep shifting the blame and setting us back decades. We're naming the gaslighting for what it is and calling out systems that try to rewrite our history and retell our stories and challenge our right to even exist. This is about awareness. This is about community. So yeah, the revolution will not be televised, but it's happening right here, right now, one voice at a time. Because Wonderland is burning down. Hey everybody, welcome. I know it's been a minute. We've been gone for over a year. It's been over a year. But the time is an unprecedented time in our society, so we felt it was important to come back for this mini series. So who we have on the Queen's Court? We have Nicole and Keisha. So they're the queens of the court. The fellows who have been with us in the past, they're doing great. They're living their lives and doing the things that they do. We might hear from them, we might not. I did hear from Chris a few months ago, so everybody is living their life, but we felt it was important for us to come in and have a conversation about what's going on. And our conversation is going to be focused on how to support yourself and your mental health, how to protect and fortify your village and your family, and how to be able to navigate using emotional intelligence inside of what's going on socially. So before we get all into that seriousness, though, we want to check in and see how everybody's doing. So I'm going to be quiet and let Keisha and Nicole come to the mic and tell the people, what's been going on with you? What's been going on? Any updates? I mean, it's been over a year. It's been over a year. So I know everybody probably has some exciting things to share. And then we can kind of talk about what our focus is going to be for the Queen's Court sessions. So who wants to go first?
Hello, everyone. This is Keisha. Let's see what has been going on within the last year, or actually over a year now. Well, I have a new job, and I'm actually in a relationship now, so that's been exciting. Um, let's
So that
see
means
what
the
else is going on.
relationships through the looking glass must have worked. All those lessons and
Yes,
conversations, right?
our relationships in the looking glass, I must say, have definitely assisted me with navigating in my relationship. Whew, Doing the relationship through looking glass, I actually got an insight on how men think, the way they feel about certain situations, women's behavior. I also learned that men are just as sensitive as women. Yes. So that has definitely helped me along the way as I am walking day by day in this relationship. I do have a women empowerment group, Change Women Break now. So that is something that's new. I'm a motivational speaker, and I've been kind of going out often now just to kind of encourage other women to make sure that they are working towards reaching their full potentials in life. So that wraps it up for me.
Absolutely. And it's not a little short relationship. Keisha been in this relationship for a minute. She's been in this relationship for a minute. So we want to make sure that we're highlighting the fact that that's a big deal. And we're so excited and happy as it relates to that. Because we've had a lot of conversations on and off the podcast about the impact of relationships. Um, so yeah, so now we're gonna see what's going on with Nicole. What's been going on with you, Nicole?
First of all, congratulations, Keisha, on the new job and relationship. That's awesome. I really
Thank
am.
you.
Yeah. That's really good. Congratulations. This is Nicole, and I also got a new job, and I have done a lot of work on boundaries and what self-care means for me, what that looks like. And part of the self-care is the boundaries. So I've been working a lot on that because the type of job that I have, I tend to help support a lot of people. And that support can kind of bleed into other areas of life. So I've learned to kind of, do I always want to help? Absolutely. But is it the most healthiest for myself? Not all the time. So just learning to be supportive and protective of my own energy, which is a learning lesson, right? You always learn from experience. So, of course, that always didn't go the smoothest. Yeah, that's where I've been.
That's
What else is I supposed
outstanding.
to share?
That's
Just that?
outstanding. What's been going on with me? I moved states. Um, Probably one of the best decisions in my whole entire life was to move from the state I was in to the state I am in. So happy about that. So I'm jumping from ACC to SEC. It aligns with where I'm at currently. And other than that, other than the big move, other than kids in college, um, everything else has been work. A lot of travel with work. I'm probably, well, now since the aircraft and the airplanes and the air traffic controllers are pausing, um, but pretty much in a different state once a month, different state for different states monthly. I was able to hang out with Nicole on one of my trips. So yeah, so traveling and moving has been my big thing, and yeah, just realizing now is the time to have a conversation around what's going on nationally, specifically around the Black community. But as with the other podcasts, it could support and help other individuals of color as well. So that's what we're going to talk about. And if you follow the Alice in Wonderland through the Looking Glass stories, a lot of people don't, but obviously I do. There are three queens between the two books, and we have all of us have different viewpoints and focus areas that we're going to be talking about. All of them will be to support the community, to tighten our circle, to fortify our village, because we have a road ahead of us. And what we've seen up to this point is just the tip of the iceberg, honestly. And we have a platform, and where people's ability to speak up and speak out is being monitored and censored, we have to be able to use the platforms that we have to get information out, and that's what we're going to intend to do. That's what we're doing. So we'll start with Keisha, and then we'll round about back to me on what the focus areas are. So Keisha focusing around mental health. Unless you want me to go first, Keisha. Do you want me to go first? Okay, okay, okay. So my focus, and when my podcast episodes air, we're going to be talking about advocacy. We're going to be talking about how to rebel in a way that doesn't get you to lose your job, but be able to speak up for yourself, be able to speak up and protect your family. So, looking at what that looks like for you specifically, things that we took for granted in previous years, we might not have the luxury to have access to. When you are living in a society where you can be picked up off the street without due process just because of the color of your skin, when you're living in a society where people will ostracize you, you can lose your job for speaking up or saying certain things. We have to look at the landscape we're in and figure out the best way to maneuver if we're going to ride this ride, which we have some more years to get through. By the time you're hearing this episode, many people might not be able to get resources that they have depended on to feed their children, to feed their families. And we need to talk about what that looks like. What resources are out here that's not being impacted, because you have nonprofits who stood in this space of helping individuals who might not have the ability to do that because they're not getting the funding that they used to have. Food banks are probably going to have not as many, not as much things to offer. And people don't even know if they're coming back to work. So when you have all of this coming up, and for those of you who don't know, my background is looking at society, doing risk assessments and intelligence and all that stuff. When you look at the makeup of what's going on, you would be misinformed. You would be if you don't plan now, you could find yourself in a really, really difficult situation down the road. So I'm going to be talking about what you can do for your family, for your circle. I'm all about fortifying the village, what that looks like, how to make that happen. So you are set up in the best way to stay safe, and have access to the things that you need. So I'm the rebel queen, but I definitely am a rebel with a cause. And even when we get off this episode, even though this is just a getting reacquainted episode, I'll give you some points that you can take with you and you can start doing now to make your environment safer in this current climate. So that's kind of my focus. And I'll be representing the Queen of Hearts off with their heads, but a little bit flipped, a little bit different. So I don't know. Keisha, if you're not ready, we can go to Nicole. So whoever's ready. I don't want to put anybody on the spot.
I'm ready. I can jump in. Okay. So my topics will focus more so on how people are internalizing what's going on in the world right now, as far as with mental health. So I'll be focusing on overcoming ACEs, that's past traumatic experiences as well as current. We will take a deep dive to look at what that looks like for individuals, as well as knowing when to tag in help. It's a lot that's going on now, y'all. And a lot of people are trying to be strong for others, but they actually don't have anyone to throw them a lifeline, or they're operating in a manner where they are saying that they're okay and they're really not. So, just helping folks to understand and identify when they need to reach out for help, as well as taking a deep dive and looking into how stress impacts the body. So we want to look at the bleed out. Everybody bleed out may look differently. Some people bleed out, it may impact their health wise, and they may start to experience sicknesses in their bodies that they normally would not have as a result of stress. Stress is the number one killer in the world. Stress is the number one killer. I've seen it happen firsthand with a relative. So, this is the area that I would like to focus on, just to kind of help folks navigate through this to better understand what stress looks like and when you're at that point of exhaustion and you actually need some help. All right, Nicole, I'm tossing the ball to you.
Right on. Yes. Right now, we are currently living in a time where people are just emotionally exhausted, extremely disconnected from each other, which turns into extreme defensiveness. So, for me, I will be talking about emotional intelligence, compassion, and empathy, and why it is so important right now. And how we can use emotional intelligence, compassion, and empathy as a power move versus, a weakness. We traditionally have been taught that these sort of things can be showing vulnerability, being empathetic for somebody, and acting in an emotional, ignorant manner. We kind of tote that as powerful in today's society, because that might be demonstrated by certain leaders. People tend to think that that's the right way, or the way that we should be treating each other, or the way that people should be acting. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I view it differently. To me, when you are not empathetic towards a situation, I feel like it loses our ability to see each other as human beings, as people of color, as women, whatever it is. Like, you don't have the ability to truly see somebody or to relate with somebody in a authentic, manner without empathy, without compassion, and without emotional intelligence. So for me, these topics are truly important in us remaining connected or getting more connected than we already are. And I feel like us as a society are so much more powerful with connection, right? And with utilizing our emotional intelligence skills to be strategic in getting our initiatives done versus trying to fight as individuals and having individual initiatives that disconnected portion from an unstable emotion place is what is the weakness. And if we can bring some attention to that, we will come together and connect and hopefully overcome some of the issues or some of the potential deficits that we're all experiencing right now. So that is what I will be bringing. And that's why it's so important for me right now to highlight, to use the platform to highlight those things, to empower the people that are listening and are open to receiving.
Absolutely. And thank you. Thank both of you for even agreeing to come back to this because we definitely know some of these topics are going to be difficult to talk about. But making sure we have three pillars that focus on certain areas, right? How are we handling this internally? How do we interact with what's happening externally? And then how to just be in this environment. And for me, community organizing is so important and it has to start somewhere, right? I have gone to multiple protests since the beginning of this year. Big surprise there. But yelling and screaming and throwing up your fist can only do so much. So that's this is another way for me to rebel, right? This is another way for me to speak up. And what Keisha and Nicole are bringing, these are also other ways for you to make sure you are protecting yourself internally, externally, but still being seen. In one book I'll reference, and I would recommend this to anybody in this current time, called On Tyranny by Timothy Snyder. It's a small book, it's a quick read, but it has 20 lessons that really speaks to the times we're in. And one of the main lessons that he speaks about is do not obey in advance. And I do know in the beginning, when you're hearing threats, when you're hearing you could do this and this might happen to you, but do not obey in advance. He says oppressors rely on people complying before they're forced to. So when you are able to challenge authority when it is unjust, that should be a consideration. And that's what I'm going to be talking about. But another one is to believe in truth because disinformation is a weapon. So one of my takeaways that you can do today is consider a VPN. And for people who are not techie, the best way to explain a VPN is it's a way for you to tap into other servers in other countries. It's completely legal. I know some people might be shaking their head like, what the hell is she trying to do? She's trying to get us in trouble. I am not. I am trying to get it where you are not being held into what information is being pushed inside the borders. I will tell you that with the VPN, you can see what's being reported outside of the borders, and it's very different. It's very different. I will say that. I'm not going to spend too much time going into it. I'll talk about it more and give and follow our Instagram page because you'll get more information about what I'm talking about specifically about your data, making sure it's safe, understanding what doxing is. About a month or so back, we had people putting individuals' information and addresses on public websites if they spoke out against what was going on nationally. And then again, that's putting a target on you, right? So a VPN is one, it helps with the dis and misinformation, but it also gets your information off of data banks and brokers that could put you more vulnerable for being doxxed. So we'll go into all that geeky intel stuff when I talk more. But again, if there were two things to do, right? Check into what a VPN is and get that book from Timothy Snyder, and I'll put both of those in on the Instagram page so you can kind of look at that a little bit more. So I'm gonna go to Keisha and Nicole as because this is going to be just a really quick episode. This was just to kind of say, hey, we're coming back. This is what we're going to talk about before we jump into the session and season with episode one. So, just a takeaway that we can give the listeners on what they can do right now, today, after they listen to this episode, that can assist with their mental health, and with Nicole, that can assist with how they are showing up in the world, but protecting themselves at the same time.
I would say to make sure that you're practicing good self care, definitely take time to meditate, think. I would say also not to react so quickly without taking the time and really processing things too. A lot of people make their situations worse than what it actually is because of um, lack of self control, lack of mood control, and actually reacting when things happen. So I would say stay grounded, I'm not pushing religion, but whatever you believe in, make sure that you are getting the spiritual enlightenment that you need because it's definitely needed more than ever in this hour. And those are the things that I would say to possibly, some takeaways.
And for me, on the empowerment side, empathy is the most radical act of strength that we have right now. The ability to look at a situation and be human and treat someone else like a human. And that is, like I said, it is a strength. And if we can continue to, like Keisha said, stay grounded, we can utilize our strength for the greater good. If we stop disempowering ourselves and not realizing how powerful we are by being emotionally out of control, then that leaves us in a space where we can be taken advantage of. So the goal here is obviously to continue with the self-care, and self-awareness is huge for you to recognize when you are emotionally escalated. Tend to that emotion, try and tend to whatever it is in the calm manner, because that's when people take advantage, is when you're emotionally dysregulated. And that is when we do our least amount of logical thinking and logical speaking. So I encourage us all to remain grounded, give yourself time, and try not to act out of emotion, because that is the goal. That is where we would be discredited, discounted, and disempowered. So remain empowered by attending to our emotions and self-awareness.
And that's so important because let me tell you, with what's been going on, and first of all, if you don't know what psychological warfare is or what a psychological campaign is, a psyops campaign, definitely look it up. Look it up, and then look at what's going on in this country right now. And that's all I'm going to say there. And when that happens, when stuff like that's happened, where you're feeling like you're being controlled, when your narrative is being erased, when people don't even want to allow you to identify as who you are, that has an impact to your mental health, to where you might be somebody who's pretty much even kill and can do all the things that Nicole and Keisha are talking about. But because what's going on externally is an everyday battle, something that you might be able to kind of brush off can throw you off course. To be 100% transparent, I was spiraling yesterday. Things that I thought I healed from, I was put in a opportunity to see that I was not. um, so it's not, it's something that it impacts everybody. And that's why I feel the time is now to have these conversations, because it's not just what's going on internally and what we're doing in our community, it's what's happening to our community. And the only way we have a chance to get through what's coming is if mentally we're secure, if we know how to do the empathy, the boundaries, have the conversations, show up for yourself, but just show up, right? Making sure that you are seen and we're not going away. They can try to write us out history books. They can try to remove us from programs out of colleges and universities as if we don't exist. But guess what? We're not going away. And no matter how many times they try to rewrite history and the narrative, we're still here. So it's important that you're taking care of yourself because we don't know how much further we have to go, where the resources are going to look like, what the resources are going to look like. And again, another tip I would say too is not to leave your house without any type of identification because people are getting pulled off the streets. I worked with a family who they thought the brother was missing. He was being detained and he was not allowed to make a phone call to anybody. And they held him for 3 days, and he was an American citizen. So don't think it can't happen to you. We have military members walking the streets. And somebody who was in the military, we are not trained for policing. That's not what we're trained to do. We are trained to fight war. And now I don't want to get everybody too much amped up right now because this is not our first episode. This is just getting reacquainted. But at the end of the day, I'm going to be 100% and be real about what I'm seeing from my experience when I was in the military, but also what you can do to protect your people, to protect your circle, again, to fortify your village. So, with that being said, anything else that the queens have that they want to leave with before we end our first, just kind of getting reacquainted episode on what to expect?
Well, I just want to say, with the spiraling out yesterday, because you were able to be emotional intelligent, you were able to make smarter choices. And this is an excellent demonstration of how that works. And to be able to recognize that that is what you were experiencing instead of recognizing it, I don't know, maybe busting someone's windows out or something like that. That way you're able to,
I needed
you
my
don't
job.
recognize it as you're busting out the windows, you recognize it before you even get in the car.
I
So
was in the
I,
car.
I can commend you for some self reflection and self awareness um, to alter your behavior, and that's kind of what we want to do to empower ourselves, especially in these situations where um, the overwhelm is intentional. And like you said, the psychological warfare that's going on. And so, as Keisha shared about the grounding, more than ever, it is so important to allow ourselves to ground ourselves and be emotional intelligence to recognize the things that are going on so we can take our own control and empower ourselves. So I wanted to commend you and then also to add why it's so important right now.
How about you, Keisha? Anything before we
But
sign off for our first? Hey, you get
well, I
to
need some more.
reacquaint.
I need some more insight of what you overcame. But but anyway, that's another conversation for
I
another
needed
day.
my job, so you will have to
Oh
be off the air.
yes, we all need our job right now. I needed my job today. So yeah. But anyhow, I just want to say I'm like very, very excited that we are able to get back on the mic. And though we have some focused topics, of course, we're definitely going to possibly reach back and possibly do a throwback. Matter of fact, how many of y'all would like for us to do a throwback and look back into the relationships through the looking glass? So that'll be nice just to get some feedback and see how many of y'all would like us to do a throwback episode. That's all I got.
Says the one who's in the long-term relationship here. I would have nothing to
It
add. Apparently,
it
I'm doing it
comes
very wrong,
it
because I almost caught
comes
a case. So
no, trust me, it comes with its challenges. I'm not saying that every day is sunny. So it comes with its challenges.
So yeah, and also the cosign on what Keisha said. We're talking about some heavy topics here because it's important for our community right now. But I mean, you can't have us on the mic without any sarcasm and jokes. So those will be tied in, but to understanding the seriousness of the nature and even bringing into the relationships is important who's in your circle right now. You have people who are losing their jobs, who have been furloughed, who don't know if they're going to have enough with the holiday seasons coming in. And on top of that, with that being a higher risk for behaviors that can be harmful and hurtful, So yeah, we got a big job to do with this mini series, and we're really happy to do it. I also am looking for people who might want to talk about any programs or resources that they have in their area or nationally that could help people who might find themselves struggling in any of these pillars, right? With work, with mental health, lack not being able to work, or just not feeling comfortable in the skin you're in right now. So, with that being said, thank you all for listening to our why. Why are we coming back for this mini series? We're excited to share the information, but we want to hear from you too. So, if there's anything that's going on in your part of the country that you need some additional assistance with, let us know. We have connections really across the country. We have connections outside of the country. So, I'll be able to give you information if you even are planning to leave the country. We're going to be talking about all of that in this mini series because we really need to take care of our community. Because right now, it's like some of us might feel we have a target on our back, and we want to make sure that we're being supported and supporting others. So, with that being said, thank you for being here. Our next episode will be next Sunday. We'll be putting out the episodes each Sunday, and we look forward to connecting with you all. But until then, don't leave your house without your ID and stay safe out there.